There are few movies that I know within 5 minutes that it's gonna be my new favorite of a trilogy and possibly securing it to be what might be my favorite trilogy of all time, not just comics. When this film starts with a choreographed TVA ass beating with Deadpool using Wolverine's dead adamantium skeleton to the beat of Bye 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 by the Backstreet Boys. NSYNC, sorry. Like, every time they nail these intros to the wall.
My one disappointment, because this is all spoilers, we can just kind of talk freely. My one disappointment with the opening credits, they didn't do what they did in the first two Deadpool movies and make fun of the people involved.
Well, I think they did by the fact that the most important person involved literally had his corpse used as a weapon.
True.
just gonna throw that out there.
Also,
I didn't recognize that one cameo during the Search for Wolverine montage.
Which one?
We're talking spoilers, dude. Don't say that one.
Yeah, Jacob, this is full spoiler talk, so you're gonna have to be more specific. But
yeah,
okay.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So something I gotta say before we move on any further. I don't know if I'll have time to see this movie a third time, but if I do, I want to see it in 3D.
Yeah, just for that intro alone.
Yeah.
The fact that you even had him doing the dance choreography in the middle of it. They shot a music video with Wolverine's corpse for the intro. That, when they start and they go, and we're like, I didn't know what we were going to do, and how are we going to do this without insulting Logan's legacy? Spoiler alert, we're not. He's literally digging up the corpse. And I don't know how, with a skeleton, it still looked like Hugh Jackman.
That takes talent.
I'm no medical expert, but you seem very deceived. I have never had a more just, I know what I wanted this movie to be, and it was, than this. Mm-hmm. I went in, I got what I wanted, they fucking nailed exactly what that should have been, and they left.
My boiled down thoughts are this. That was amazing, but don't ever fucking do that again. Let me be specific. I don't think we need to see more multiverse shenanigans with Deadpool. I just want Deadpool. I just want Deadpool to be Deadpool.
Oh, which he very much will be, because Ryan Reynolds doesn't have to look jacked under that suit to keep being Deadpool.
That's true.
So, and as we've seen, this one was full on produced, like very handily by Ryan. Yep. And the more he got involved with every movie, the better it got.
Yeah.
Like, it is blindingly obvious that he is the reason these movies are getting better. None of them have been bad, by the way, when I say that. but the trajectory isn't. It's a literal 90-degree
Basically.
for quality. It's actually nuts. And we're gonna. They used their budget so well. I thought there was a Wolverine variant. I thought he was a Wolverine plus someone growing a beard. He very much throwing out. Oh yeah, yeah. It's. I'd say the last time we saw him with a beard would have been Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, they're like there was so much stuff that could have been in this but didn't need to be, and they did not just go MCU cameo crazy, which I'm happy with, because what this movie ended up being was the goodbye letter to Fox Studio Marvel.
Yeah. This honestly did a better job of sending off a universe than The Flash. I know. I'm sorry. Too many people.
I'm like, oh, wow, that's just breaking in. Mike announces water is still wet.
I'm sorry. Too many people have been comparing this movie to The Flash, so I had to throw my jab at there.
Anyone, I tell you right now, that is making that comparison and honest needs to get a cranial check. No one in this movie was paraded around as a corpse to celebrate a franchise that made them commit suicide. Everyone likes to forget that part of The Flash, but it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to how smart this budget was, there's so many scenes, because this is the Wolverine show partially too. They weren't joking when they said that this is a split movie. Everyone, when they're like, oh, they've waited 10 years to see Sabretooth and Wolverine fight. And the fact that that fight lasted 10 seconds was the funniest shit ever.
Mm.
But they're like, no, everyone waited 20 years to see him fight Wolverine, and you get to see it 2 seconds. You got just the flash, and then the fact that he reprises the Loki line. Says, I am Marvel Jesus, and I will not put up with your pit, and then he's smacked into the tree. Yes, it did have you were right, Jacob. It did have a consistent tone. I had to write some shit down because I saw this movie literally twice in a row, 20 minutes apart. And I noticed stuff in the second screening that blew my mind for the level of cameos that are in this. When you want to talk about the level of stupidity that they put into this movie, I didn't notice this little fucking trinket until I watched the scene in Happy's office the second time.
Oh, what was it you noticed?
Do you remember in Iron Man 2 when Tony is in Pepper's office and that stupid fucking whirligig thing that he says is irritating him and he like tears apart and sets down on the desk?
Oh.
It's on Happy's back desk. There's no reason that thing needed to be there. None. But what? Also, I didn't recognize Channing Tatum. Oh, I knew that was Channing Tatum right away. I knew it's the second that I saw a playing card that Channing Tatum was coming on.
Yep.
That is showing how much Fox fumbled the bag. That
I was talking to a friend on Twitter, and I told them like this was the movie that, you know, a lot of people are shitting on because I get it. Remy is a very hard character to nail, but I was so looking forward to whatever this movie was going to be, and was kind of bummed when it never came to pass.
When what didn't?
The Gambit movie.
Oh, okay. I got confused. Yeah, exactly. And people that watch this movie and are upset at what they got for Gambit, you're not gonna like a Gambit movie. That's him.
Mm-hmm.
You may not like what Channing Tatum, but that's Gambit. You just saw X-Men 97. Minus the love triangle, you got the same character. And you can see that because he was there. But that was one thing I had no issues recognizing, even with makeup. Like that was one Jacob where I'll disagree, dude. I 1,000% within seconds knew that was Channing Tatum just from his face. But anyway, going back to the beginning, Peter getting a much bigger part in this was awesome. Like they realized that, like, I love how they were like the most important member of X-Force and then Shatterstar. like Lewis, that kind of screamed to me that Lewis Chan was like the only guy that was available for the film.
Yeah, I think that's why.
Because like Domino would have been there.
She definitely would have.
Yes, and but anyways, so we get the birthday party, which is great, and man, just people complain about certain stuff being jokes being a million miles an hour and like no room to breathe in anything. Like the complaint was that during Love and Thunder. This movie had the same exact thing, but I was never sick of it.
Same.
Because one thing that like Ryan and Hugh were talking about was how you make the movie first and then reverse engineer the comedy into it.
I definitely noticed that with certain lines towards the end where it definitely feels like this movie has been workshopped throughout. Like, I'm pretty sure they only just locked picture 2 weeks ago.
Oh, like absolutely. There was no way. Like this looked like the most doctored thing ever, and not in a bad way. They had this thing minusculely down to a T, and I appreciated every second of it. The run through of everything leading to finding Wolverine, and like the suit up at the TVA, everything like just the oh, it was fantastic. And the absolute balls to have no payoff ever with that Thor scene. When you saw it in the first trailer, it's not there for long, but you do see it. But yeah, it's unreal.
I love how they leave that Thor scene just completely completely dangling.
Completely dangling. You don't even get a hint of any other like honest to God MCU characters showing up outside of the TVA, which was wonderful. Because again, this was touted to be a cameo fest, but I appreciated that it was more of a hey, everyone at Fox, we got screwed over too. Let's get an ending. Because like he even talked about that while they were in the press junkets, like there's a lot of cameos, yes, but they're well thought out and they actually have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
When they're going through all of it, like I love how, because we're going to talk about the other one, because I came clean out of my fucking seat for one of those cameos.
We'll get to that.
But anyway, like Sticky Fingers' Blade was there. All the some of the random Joe Schmo mutants that made no sense in Last Stand were there. That just didn't have the right powers showed up again. Freaking the new Juggernaut, Toad, Azazel, but
Pyro,
Pyro, and I literally about snapped my phone in half when I was starting to see actual quality spoilers coming through just everywhere. And then I got spoiled on the one that I knew was going to happen, or I was like 99% sure was going to happen, and that was Chris Evans.
I
saw him for 2 seconds.
I surprisingly never got that spoiler, but at the same time, I knew the second he opened his mouth that it wasn't going to be Captain America.
Oh no, and I knew it wasn't going to be Captain America because it would be dumb to be Cap at this point. You're in the Fox universe. If they don't do a Human Torch thing, and they teed that up so well. They're like, oh, just, and you're going to hear, I love how it immediately goes, you're going to hear some harsh language, just so you're aware, because they're never going to let that language line go, ever. But, so they tee it up so well, he's like, and you're going to say this, like, oh my God, he's going to say the line, he's going to say the line. Avengers of Flame on, what in the fuck? But, yeah, I get it in Free Guy, but this to me is different levels of cameo than in Free Guy. But that was another thing, like the break when he shows that he's in the MCU and he goes and headbutts the camera and tells Fox to fuck off, I'm going to Disneyland.
I think that might be one of the funniest fourth wall breaks because he actually breaks the fourth wall.
Yes, and the fact that they watch him go do it and then just let him come back is wonderful. But yeah, actually getting to see Pyro be useful with his powers for once because he actually siphons off fire, like that perfect matchup for that. Oh, that was so good. Again, the Tyler Mane fight only lasting 2 seconds, but going on, getting into the other cameos. But before we get, I don't think that Sean Levy gets enough credit for choreographing and like directing fight scenes.
I need to go back and rewatch Real Steel, but because I think I've said before that might be one of his best movies. But the action sequences in this movie, I am honestly impressed how well choreographed they are. They're not quite like the best out of the trilogy. I think Deadpool 2 has like better individual sequences.
Well, there's a difference between having Sean Levy and Chad Stahelski.
True.
I would have been disappointed if the fight scenes were just regular Deadpool 2 when you have the John Wick guy.
True.
But it's like you have Real Steel, Night at the Museum, and Free Guy. Like the levels of it just blew my mind how well they did, especially towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then you start getting towards the actual fights and like getting towards the plot again. It made me laugh. In the Deadpool game, one of the main things that Cable and Deadpool do is ride a Sentinel boot to get to one end of the island to the other. I know that in the first 2 movies, they had the people that did the Deadpool rap in the Deadpool game do a Deadpool rap and then an X-Force rap. If they got that from that game, I'd be so happy. Because that game is underrated as shit. It kind of killed the studio because no one bought it, but it's underrated as shit. And the fight in that van shouldn't have gone that well.
Speaking of the van, last night we talked about a very specific needle drop. And I'm pretty sure we said verbatim that
I wanted Avril Lavigne to be playing when they drove off into the distance. They weren't holding hands, but I fucking called it.
Yep.
And the fact that Lady in Red played when Dogpool was coming. The music thing, I know that Ryan helped pick a lot of it, I don't know if like, and another thing, I complained about this with Transformers Rise of the Beast, that I fucking hated that they overused music at certain points. Like when Bumblebee came back, that should have been a triumphant thing that had like actual orchestral music, in my opinion, and they played Mama Said Knock You Out instead.
Mhm.
Every time they had a needle drop in this movie. Perfect. And for the exact amount of time is needed.
I
Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls plays for 2 seconds.
Mhm. And twice.
Yeah, it's just.
I think I had the most fun with needle drops in this movie, like since the first Guardians.
Yeah. Yeah. The all of it. Every time they would bring something up, I just that again, the veracity of which, also the fact that the nice Deadpool literally speaks with a Canadian accent.
I didn't pick up on that until his second appearance, but
I didn't either. Because he literally says, sorry, they're A at one point. I'm like, damn it, Ryan. But yeah, I can gently push the fourth ball too. The proposal. What was that? I will tell you, I am very shocked that She-Hulk was not brought up once.
especially because they had a producer and one of the writers attached to this.
Yeah, that was. I didn't expect that. That was very shocking to me because like you had Hulk in it, but I was just gonna be like, now you have the real fourth wall breaker or something like that. I expected, but so okay, they get rescued and pulled off. The fact that when they fall asleep, Deadpool is mummified in that seatbelt, I was pissing myself. Just the fact that Ryan in at the end of possibly his own trilogy, if they don't do another direct Deadpool movie, was willing to get his ass kicked so much by Wolverine was just Ryan had. I've heard so many people, especially Hugh Jackman, recently talk about how Ryan literally doesn't have an ego, like at all.
He doesn't, and it really shows.
It really shows, and to think we are just. So they get to the Resistance headquarters, and they wake up, and the first person you see is Elektra. I was like, all right, they're dipping in the bag here. Because Elektra's movie was, to be frank, not good.
Mm-mm.
And then I figure if they're going to do any of them second, we're going to get like maybe another Human Torch, like a Michael B. Jordan for like 2 seconds, and then maybe some other stuff. When
I was expecting Affleck to show up as Daredevil.
I kind of was too, but I love how they referenced, oh, they killed Daredevil, and he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, that was for them to go, no, Ben is not showing up for the rest of this movie. But when fucking Wesley Snipes walks through as the second person, I'm like, Ryan literally can't have an ego. He just can't. And there had to be some serious soul searching on Wesley Snipes' parts at the later parts of this, on top of probably a very good paycheck to show up for that little bit amount of a time.
Yeah.
But anyone who doesn't know the sheer amount of shit that Ryan and everyone in that movie went through when Wesley went on his ego trip, the fact that they're sharing a screen together and now Wesley is the guest in Ryan's movie was outrageous.
Also, speaking of what we said about this movie being doctored up until the 11th hour, when Wesley says like, there's only one blade, and there's only going to be one blade.
there are so many layered jokes behind that because that's either a very not doctored whatever. Because when did Blade get announced?
2019.
2019. When did they like start writing this movie?
I don't know, 2020s.
2020s. When did that? Because we have to like they ripped on the state of Marvel so many fucking times in this movie.
They
More
did.
than I ever expected. There had to be there was two ways that joke goes. He's either like, yep, there's only gonna be one Blade, or he's literally looking at the screen going, when are we gonna get this Blade movie going? Because but when Blade goes through in probably the best looking getup he's ever had.
Oh, he looked so cool in this.
This was the definition of, oh, by the way, everyone gets their actual fucking costumes this time. And then after that, you literally have comic book Gambit walk onto the screen. And the biggest, how did you fumble this ever from Fox?
Yeah.
For so long, you had him up on a Hall H panel along with all of the rest of Fox announcing all these movies, and you just couldn't make that one work. They made such a big showing of like, we're finally getting Gambit, and it's Channing Tatum, and they made this big song and dance during Comic-Con, and nothing. And you have... I need to give props to whoever, and the amount of time that I don't know that Channing Tatum had to learn and speak like Gambit. Oh Lord, did he nail it?
I was going to ask, like, how did you feel about his accent? Like,
it was perfect. It was perfect in my opinion. Now, did they purposely give him some lines that no matter how good of a Cajun accent you would say would sound outrageous just so Deadpool could make fun of him? Yeah.
I was going to say they had to have played that up for comedic effect because Deadpool.
Absolutely. And again, Deadpool's going to make fun of him regardless. I literally never had an issue one time understanding what Channing Tatum was trying to say. Literally never once. But, and like, you need to have these characters in there and have him, like, not get, he's like, you're going to have to give me that one more time. It's been a while since I've watched Sling Blade. There was a couple behind me that I think their souls left their bodies when he asked if their dialogue coach was the Minions.
Yeah, that one hit my audience too.
Oh my goodness. And just I've been ready since I popped my I don't remember what the fuck he said. Right after my daddy shot me out, it was just like, that was horrifically graphic. And then everyone's all in the let's fucking go, and then he's just like, you're all gonna die. Learn to read the fucking room. Like, every joke just kept going and going, and it never felt bad. That's where you know it's a testament of good writing, where the jokes aren't falling flat and they're giving you a million of them. This is the definition of the Robin Williams stand-up scene as a movie.
Yeah.
For anyone who watched Robin Williams do stand-up, all of his jokes didn't land. In this, to me, all the jokes landed. In a Robin Williams stand-up set, all the jokes didn't land, but in an hour and a half, he gave you roughly 4,000 jokes.
I think the only jokes here that didn't land are there's a couple ableist remarks, but again, Deadpool, you play it's he's going to go for the...
If he wouldn't have said that, I would have thought it would have been out of character, and they would have been, honestly, not to be frank, pussying out on the character, because the character's going to say that to whoever he's talking to.
Yeah, that's true.
Were there some of them harsh? Yes, but
that's the character.
And you want to know what would have been said? Disney's not letting Deadpool be Deadpool.
I'm glad that I'm glad that this production was like mostly Ryan, and Kevin's just like, I'm Kevin, I'm Feige, this is This is my ship.
This is happening. And like, I mean, they're talking about stuff that needed to happen. And Kevin's like, yeah, we're doing that. Like,
Also, in another interview that I watched, Kevin Feige never actually said like an explicit no mention of cocaine. It was Ryan.
I know. Yes. Yes.
Ryan came up with that bit.
Oh, absolutely. And my favorite thing ever with the Kevin Feige interviews that have happened during this, I don't remember who he was sitting down with. He's like, I'm just so happy I can say fuck now. I don't think I'd ever actually hear Kevin Feige say it. He just always seems like that awesome grandpa that has all the comic books that you hear from every now and then at Christmas. That was great. But yeah, and then we get through all of that, and one thing that people don't like to bring up when they talk about these Deadpool movies, there's a shitload of heart in these Deadpool movies.
Yes.
They're anchored by that. And a lot of this, I know a lot of it came from Ryan, but like getting to actually hear Hugh talk to just talking to Cassandra Nova about how I can't even tell you how much I want to kill you, but Charles would not let me do that. Like, these are people that actually care about these characters, and it comes through because it makes it feel natural to the character saying these things in the movie.
As far as Hugh Jackman's performance, I compared him favorably to Charlie Cox in his one episode of She-Hulk, where even though they're playing sort of alternate versions of the characters that they come to know and love, they're like, the performances are still the character. It's still just because it's like not the exact version of the character. It's still the actors putting everything into that role.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I agree completely. Like, you can have a good Wolverine and not have it be that Wolverine.
Yep.
It's almost crazy, like how this is a thing in comics and has been for years.
Mm-hmm.
Nuts how that works. But yeah, and I love how so many people, the amount of shit that people said was that this is like, my uncle works at Nintendo ass comments that were coming out from everyone. It's like, yep, I could tell from the trailer that portal they go into, that's going to lead them into Endgame, and that's how they get in the MCU. Like, what amount of drugs are you actually smoking to think that that is where they were going to land?
Yeah, no.
Budget is a thing. What would they gain? You can do it in a much better way than we were going to put you in with everybody else, so that seems cool. No. What was great about this movie is everything that they did as extra felt natural.
Yeah, even the stuff with the like the time accelerator, or what do they call it?
The Time Ripper?
Yeah, the Time Ripper.
Yeah, it was something like that. And people complained about villains not being the greatest in this. I'm sorry to break it to you, but none of these Deadpool movies have ever been carried off the villain being amazing.
Yeah, you're right. None of these. I'll be frank. I barely remember. I barely. Yeah, Ajax from the first one. Was it the kid who's the villain in Deadpool 2?
The villain in Deadpool 2. Like, the freaking guy from the Essex house is the villain in the movie. Like, honestly, if we're going to talk about it, the Essex house guy and Juggernaut are the two villains in this movie. or in Deadpool 2, because what's his real name? Rufus? It's Fire Fist. Is his real name no Rusty?
I think so.
But like he's a coerced kid that's going along with what he thinks is right. And Cable's never even really the villain in the movie. None of these movies thrive off the villain being great. They all thrive off of what Deadpool does with the characters that are in it.
Yeah. Like these movies are definitely more character forward than plot forward, which is why I personally love them.
Yeah, because like I'd hate to break it to you people, Deadpool's not known for having an extensive rogues gallery.
Nope.
We had Fire Fist as the villain in the second movie. But and again, you needed a douchebag to push the plot forward, and then a person who had a somewhat of a connection enough to get emotional beats out of. And you had both. This movie was about Deadpool and Wolverine and dealing with their own traumas. Anyone who's mad about this movie not having a Joker level villain when that's not the point of the fucking movie, I saw that in so many reviews. They're like, yeah, it's a 7 out of 10. The villain sucked. What fucking movie did you watch where that was important? If you took them out and swapped another one in, you still have the beats that worked. You just needed another X-Men adjacent villain.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where it's one of those things where it's just like, ever since you have villains that are up here, they're like, yeah, the other movie sucked because the villain was bad. You know what movie hurt because the villain was bad? The Marvels. That was the most we came up with a villain in 2 seconds for a plot ever. That is a movie actually hurt by there not being a villain. Because that was the key point, is the fact that Carol treated that person badly and they were the big bad. And they had 4 seconds of screen time. That is an instance of a villain hurting a movie by not being good. But anyway, enough on about that, because I thought he was enough of a douchebag for it to work. But we get to current days where she's sent back. And also, I love how they saw the sling ring for 2 seconds and they're like, the time stone and the reality stone are in there. They can go anywhere. Just the amount of people that spin anything off of a single photo.
Yeah.
Y'all talk about how Marvel does this to you? No. Y'all do this to yourselves.
Yeah. It's true.
No one ever said that this was going to be a multiversal jumping back and forth every single Marvel thing ever. Like Ryan said in interviews, there's cameos, but they have points to them. And that was what they're going through with that. Again, going back to the music, like, wasn't a huge fan of his, but one of my favorite songs of T.I. is in this movie, and it's one of the best remixes of a rap song ever to be put in a movie.
It was actually really good.
Bring 'Em Out to have them go into this serious, like, intro tune, it was borderline majestic in how they pulled that off. And the fight scenes showing actually the proper, like, flow of how everyone would act in this, getting them to see their send-offs was great. I wish, honestly, that we would have got Ben Affleck as Daredevil, but he's got better stuff to do. But
exactly.
This was very much who can we get, and based on who we can get, we're going to make the plot work with that. And they didn't get this proper. Like, Elektra had a bad movie and got killed. Those were her two ends. Channing Tatum never got to have his movie. Blade got Blade Trinity.
Yeah.
And like the only other one that kind of never got to have the movie where it was grown up was X-23. But that was just one where they nailed it. Like, that she needed to be the person coming in there for Hugh or for Wolverine. And I will say the only cameo that I'm shocked we didn't get, because it was just whatever, but like shocked as in that one look kind of screamed as it was going to happen. But again, it was kind of a just everyone brought it into existence by themselves, was Taylor Swift being in this movie.
I'll admit I was pretty insistent that was going to happen, and you know, I'm only disappointed that I was wrong. I didn't really have that much a horse in the race.
No, and I didn't either. And that was one of those, again, where people watching the movie do it to themselves. And if anyone gets upset, like legitimately actually upset that she wasn't in this movie, you're only mad at you. Because
Exactly.
Ryan, just because him and his wife are friends with a person, doesn't mean that they're like, no, you didn't get the thing you were thinking you were going to get. Just no. Stop being those movie fans, please. My God, stop doing that. But we get back and we get the final kind of arc as we're going through. Someone brought up that, again, Uncle works at Nintendo, that originally there, which I don't believe this, originally that it was just a stunt person as Lady Deadpool, and then she didn't have lines originally. I don't believe that as long as I live. There's no way in hell.
That sounds kind of off.
And of course, it was Blake. We never saw her, but in the credits, it was her. And the fact that Kidpool was Inez Reynolds, their actual daughter, who he makes jokes about being a hardened criminal during his interviews.
I love that.
Great. And like Nathan Fillion was Headpool. There was other ones. Anyway, I know that I saw in the actual credits of the Nathan Fillion and Blake Lively stuff. I need to look back to see which one of those is accurate. But anyway, that fight, also the fact that that nice pool doesn't regenerate.
Do you think they're making fun of how in a lot of superhero movies, actors don't want to like cover their face?
Oh, I would absolutely say that is, because he literally makes fun of him for not having his mask.
Yeah, I figured that would be the case.
Oh, absolutely.
Also, that he's such a watered down version of the character.
Yes, and that he's literally called Nice Pool, has a Canadian accent, and has the super long flowing hair. And the keeper of Dogpool was another great touch. I and they keep using it as a human target. He's like, when do you start regenerating? Regenerate? And you just like, how was I supposed to know that one of my freaking doppelgangers doesn't regenerate? That was fantastic. And him using him as a human shield twice.
Love it.
That was fantastic. But there was talking about how, like, in an interview, Ryan Reynolds said that him and Sean Levy like went to Madonna's estate.
Oh, to get the rights for the song?
To personally ask her to use like a prayer, because it's one of his favorite songs ever. And he sang it a bunch as a kid. And then he's talking about how Madonna even gave them an idea for how to incorporate it into the movie, and it's used somewhere in there. I don't know where, but I'm going to imagine in my brain it's the feels like home and Wolverine finally putting the fucking cowl on.
Yeah. It's got to be that.
I tell you, when my theater exploded and how good that cowl looked. And like, even if he had to make the joke, he's like, what's the wind resistance on those blowjob handles? And he's like, I'm sorry, I just get kind of antsy when I'm ragingly jealous. And like, they mention that when they're on scene with that cowl on, that like you could hear a fucking pin drop on set the first time they saw both of them. I don't see that as hyperbole. Because that's what we've needed Wolverine to start looking like. Stop being ashamed of comic book costumes.
I like how they actually made a reference to that in the TVA office.
Yeah, like he's not afraid to be in a comic book movie. Now, there's differences with that, like with the with Guardians is a great example. They slowly over time fed into getting the proper Guardians outfits at the very end.
Yeah, it took until then for the Guardians to be the Guardians.
The Guardians, yeah. Like actually earning the suit versus being afraid to put it on is two very different things. And like when he picks them up, ooh, what are these jammies? That only took 20 fucking years. There was a whole lot of honesty that came out in these lines that you could tell was Ryan at heart being thankful for what Fox did for him, but also venting a lot of rage.
Yeah, this felt like a very angry movie in places, but also it had the heart. It had, if you just don't like Deadpool's sense of humor, that's fine. I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
But yes, to say this movie doesn't have heart or like stakes at the very least for the characters, then that just feels too intellectually dishonest to me.
That's been another thing that I've seen, that this movie had no stakes. I'm like, you literally chopped your ears off and plucked out your eyeballs, if you can tell me that statement honestly. And that was another thing that I need to bring up before we get too far into the cascade of shit that we're going to get in the end of this. The last Ryan Reynolds movie that we reviewed was Free Guy. And then this. The last two movies in a row that I've seen from Ryan Reynolds have hit me at points where I needed them the most. I was going through some of the worst shit at my job, feeling just working ass amounts of overtime just to feel like I needed to be important and just being stuck. Just in a routine
me too.
Of all this, and then Free Guy hit. And I will admit, I haven't talked about this, and I've tried my damnedest to hide it in anything we've done for RPC during streaming. I emotionally and in my mental health have been in one of the worst declines for probably half a year. Feeling like pointlessness and just like family issues going on, to where people that don't like, I'm going to be really honest, I used to have a different last name. My dad's side of my family bordering on disowned me at one point because some horrendous shit that my dad did. And then I got just with my mom's side of my family. And then I didn't see my dad's side of my family until my dad passed away. And then like, that was basically me saying goodbye to them, because my secondary family became the Hatfield family that took me in with my old youth pastor being that, who was my father figure for like 16 years. And they openly welcomed me in to like change my last name and just be a part of a family like that. And like my mom's side of my family can't get along with themselves enough to save their damn lives. I have very few people in my life that I genuinely love and appreciate, like the Hatfields, the people at RPC, and all this. Like, I was literally Deadpool in this movie. Hearing him going through, I'm gonna start crying. Like, just literally, like, you have 9 people, like, in my instance, maybe it's 15, that just, like, your entire fucking world is there. You have nothing else but these people.
Yeah, I felt that.
And it's like, and I don't talk about him a lot, but one of probably my best friend, Chris Sigmund, who I've written fan fiction with for years. We were Marvel nerds for the longest time when we were in middle school. We literally at one point started writing Whose Line Is It Anyway style skits, but we were going to be Marvel characters. And spoiler alert, I was based off Deadpool and he was based off Logan. Like, I literally had an out-of-body experience watching this be written, like, literally at the point of my life that I was having with this. And, like, how much I value friendships, like, going to Comic-Cons and stuff like that. Like, just literally how much I appreciate that friendship with him. And there's points where they talk about how, like, when after the Deadpool fight, which, dear Jesus, we can't say enough with that just hallway scene pretty much of all of them just, oh my gosh, that shouldn't have worked as well as it did.
And set to like a prayer, just
to like a prayer.
Perfection.
Perfect. But they get in the basement after they talk with the cow's intimidated. It's like Batman, but he can actually move his neck. But they get in the basement, not to get off of what I'm getting to our emotional here. Hugh and Ryan said multiple times where there's parts in this movie where it stopped being Deadpool talking to Wolverine and it started being Ryan talking to Hugh.
Yeah.
When they're in that basement, I would start crying. And he says to him, I've waited a damn long time for this team up. And you were the best Wolverine. I'm fucking crying. That was the most real shit I've ever heard Ryan say in a movie.
It was.
That was two best friends of 17 years talking about how much they appreciated each other and needed to do this. That was some of the most real shit I've seen in a movie ever. And people are going to say that comic book movies don't have real emotional moments or acting. Go fuck yourself. Like, for real. That shouldn't have felt as real as what it did. I'm fucking crying here talking about a Deadpool movie. Oh,
no, but to your point, that's how much care went into this, like in all the ways that matter.
Yeah, like you talk about, like, again, Hugh Jackman going the second he saw Deadpool after he's like, nope, I'm done. He goes, I might have made a mistake. Like, he generally looks himself and goes, I can't have said that I'm never going to do this anymore. And it was because of Ryan. And, like, another interview where you talk about how, you know, the really great elevator scene in X-Men Origins Wolverine where he got to be Deadpool for roughly 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that scene's great.
They were talking in an interview where, like, this was Ryan's first big movie and how they shot a version of that scene and, like, Ryan is pissed at himself, his head buried in his hands, bordering on crying, sitting there at his trailer, and Hugh's like, are you okay? He's like, this is my first big movie. I could have done that better, and that's going to be the final take. I could have done that better. And then Hugh goes, are you wanting to do that again? He's like, are you serious? If you want to do that scene again, I will make them do that scene again. And then they were shutting the scene down, Taryn and Ryan, and Hugh grabs Ryan and they're like, turn the lights back on, we're not done. And the take you got was the one that's in the movie, was the last take that he tried again. Like, the amount of respect that Ryan has for Hugh, you can't quantify.
You can't.
And the fact that they got to, again, do this, and that last scene where they're talking down there, and going over how they're literally Spock and Kirk fighting over killing themselves at the end. And, like, bashing down that door to be both of them together to finally have this last moment. And they had to have comedy in it for a little bit.
Of course.
When his shirt bursts off, he's just I had to look at his abs, but just showing the amount of shit that both of them have went through to get to this with the amount of just hogwash they had to go through at Fox to put up with this. And again, anyone who sits through this and doesn't say that there's not proper emotion in these Deadpool movies, you are actually blind. They had some more emotion in those last 10 minutes than some whole trilogies have had in the MCU.
I think the problem here is people are too poisoned by irony, and
yes,
they're too poisoned by irony to engage with the movies. Instead what they do is they will and this is why I have problem with a lot of negative reviews that just kind of dismiss the movie, write it off, and aren't really meeting it on its own terms.
Yeah, I can't get over those people that just everything that, no, it's just another comic book movie. Martin Scorsese fried people's brains. He's a great director, but that statement was out of pocket and stupid. Are comic book movies dumb? Sometimes, yes. But to say a form of medium that can have real emotional depth and be put to screen literally isn't cinema is the most asinine thing I've ever heard a director say. And you know that just became the, oh, yay, I can use that to say that everything that I don't like in movies is stupid because a director that most of these people haven't seen 90% of his fucking filmography can just go, yeah, he said that it wasn't emotional and it's not real cinema. Like, no, I'm sorry. Part of what triggered Martin to say that is the fact that no one was watching his movies. You cannot actually tell me that he wasn't, and it was true, because he was actually having troubles getting his stuff in there because of these movies. That was an emotional response that everyone took and fucking ran marathons with. He was being very honest. But that was him being emotional and being honest. He said that for real.
And then what happens is when raw emotion is captured in text, and then that text spreads like wildfire, you get endless discourse for the next 5 fucking years.
5 being, well, it's going to, 5 is the timeline, but it's going to be much longer than that. That is going to be just the most juiced up comments for everyone to ever say about anything. And it's just stupid. It's one of those things where it was I don't remember, but it was a parody of another scene where I'm going to use from now on, hey, that's a nice opinion. Did a YouTuber give it to you?
Oh, I love that.
It's a parody from a movie, and I can't remember exactly what it's from.
It's from Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Okay, there we go. But yeah, that is so true. And I hate it. And hello, hypocrites. Woo! You want to know one thing I'm never going to do? Tell you that you can't have an honest opinion if you actually are talking about the stuff in the movie. Like Mike said, if you don't like Deadpool's humor, you're not going to like Deadpool's humor. If you didn't like the movie, you didn't like the movie. But if you can honestly just say at a base term that it can't have emotional depth because it's a comic book movie, you are objectively wrong. There's no subject to that. Saying that a thing can't have something because of the genre it's in, you're actually kind of mentally inept. And you're poisoned by everyone else's opinion. Again, which is something that is subjective.
Yeah, like if you don't like this movie, that's fine. Have your opinion.
Absolutely.
But also try to give reasons beyond bad writing or there is no plot.
Yes, and actually, like Mike just said, don't have bad plot, bad writing. Cool. You have a keyboard in front of you. Explain it. Don't just use buzz terms like you're on Twitter. Actually explain it. And then if you can explain it, you're being honest. But if I ask you and then you go, well, if you just saw the movie, you'd know. A, I don't think you watched the movie. or B, you heard someone's early review of a guy that you like that you know is trash as shit like this, and then just ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the whole going through everything with, again, like a prayer playing, where they're, again, ready to sacrifice themselves just to be good to go. And the emotional moments going through everything with Vanessa, all of it was fantastic. But again, because it is comic books, you get all them talking about how, no, it's like not anything on earth can bring that back. He has risen, bitches. And you just see them coming back out, and he's like, you're right. That would have killed just one of us, but you put both of us together with Madonna playing in the background? Indestructible. And then just, oh, we're fine. Yes, you are. Put your oily tits away. And then he's like, yeah, and he's like, and then just, no, we're going to be done with you. And I'm sure you guys have much more to do in the future. Till you're 90. You can just see
I gotta
friends
say,
on screen.
I feel bad for the person who gets cast as like the next Wolverine, because that's one tough act to follow.
That's one tough act to follow. And I'm telling you right now, I'm having a hard time out of anyone outside of Henry Cavill doing it.
Yeah.
Because not just because we saw it, but that's been a rumor for a long time. And this is not one of those John Krasinski's are going to get cast later type of thing. You want a perfect person to play this who is openly okay with getting jacked if he needs to, and is the ultimate nerd that is willing to commit their life to a comic book role. Wolverine is right there.
Quick question: how tall is he?
I don't think he's super tall, but I don't think he's short.
Not that height matters.
Okay, I lied. He is tall. He's 6'1". So
not that height matters. It's just there needs to be some, and even Feige said this, like whoever is the next Wolverine cannot just be Hugh Jackman. They have to make the role their own.
They have to make the role their own, absolutely. And that's, if you got Henry Cavill, he would. Because he's going to go all the way through. Like, and you got to see how we got the more kempt version and all that over the times with Wolverine. You had the wholly unabashed wildfire hair with Henry in his version. But, and then just actually getting to introduce Wolverine and him also, Deadpool begging the TVA to give some people their dues of, again, these actors that just got screwed over. He's like, some people deserve some shit. And they're like, we'll see. Do you know what that means? That triggers the possibility of, hey, we're still going to have that Secret Wars movie, despite the fact of whatever the fuck we do with what used to be Kang Dynasty. Some people might show up for literally 2 seconds. Like, Kevin Feige's literally said, hey, guys, there's not going to be 1,000 characters in this movie. But we'll see. And getting to have the family dinner at the end.
That was nice.
With Hugh Jackman's Wolverine getting to actually sit next to and have dinner with Laurel. That was just so good. That was everyone's like, Logan's the proper send-off, and it is, if we never got this movie. Because now there's contention. And all them going around talking, he's like, sometimes the people you save you too. That's literally, again, Ryan talking to Hugh. They were having trouble getting this damn movie off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And they were there for each other during this. And I knew there was going to be a jokey after credit scene because you just had to. But I was like, Oh, now I can't think of the damn name of the song.
Oh, Time of Your Life.
Time of Your Life. I thought there was a different name to it.
It's Good Riddance in
It's Good
parentheses.
Riddance. Thank you. But like, and then all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, I saw the freaking soundtrack. Good Riddance never played. And then they start showing old original footage. Like, okay, this is them just going, a lot of people got screwed over in the process. Let's appreciate what everyone tried to do in the horseshit situation they were in with Fox handling this media properties. And that was really nice. Like, you even saw Fan Four Stick for a little bit.
Yep.
That was ridiculous. And like, Ryan and Hugh was like, Ryan's like, I was here for 3 weeks before we even shot anything. And I don't know if this is going to go okay. Are people, they're like, I know how they're looking at me. Is this guy going to do okay? Is he actually going to last? And then Ryan talking about how I just, the comic book character looked cool. I just really hope I get to play him someday. And this is not bullshit, that this is just actual footage you actually get to bring up and show that they worked their fucking asses off to finally make this happen. And it paid off. Because, man, this was like, Fox is just, it's gone now. But this is Deadpool. So we could not have ended this movie without something really stupid.
I don't think I've heard my my audience laugh any louder than they did watching this end credit scene.
I don't think, like, you talk about like the most pure human beings that are like just the old country homeboy, white boy of just like, he's just a really good guy that has done nothing wrong in his life. I wonder if Ryan immediately, when he called him, like, hey man, I hope you know I'm making you say a whole lot of shit in this movie. And when they just go off at the end, have him say that just torrent of what I can't remember, and then just, and you can quote me on that, snaps it, God, you fucker. It was too perfect.
It was.
Also, I have to say, there was a lot, and I mean a lot, of credit given to comic book writers in the credits of this movie.
Very much appreciated, and some of those were at the premiere too.
Yes, it was very nice because, again, Ryan's one of those people that found out about his comic book role because someone in the comic book said, underneath this mask, I look like Ryan Reynolds mixed with a Shar-Pei. That's what made him look for Deadpool. Someone mentioned in a comic that they mentioned his face. Oh, it's just... This is one of those confluences of just perfect shit where everything worked out.
I don't think I've ever been more excited to see a movie a second time than leaving this movie.
Yep. And it's one of those you'll actually get shit out of it every time you watch it again. Because again, I noticed that stupid fucking spinny thing from his desk that had no reason to be in there other than to be, someone's going to notice that and it's going to be funny. What are some other ones that, oh, also, I have some shit that we need to mention here. The like the dance numbers, Cavill as Wolverine, the unfinished Cap shield, the suitcase armor. They had the fucking Fantastic Four car in this movie.
No way.
That's what Toad and Pyro are driving back in. Watch it again. You'll see the big, stupid Fantastic Four in the front of it. It's the floating hover car.
Oh, wow. Now that you mention it.
And also Wesley Snipes. Some motherfuckers are still trying to ice skate uphill.
I did notice that.
I was so happy. I'm like, please say the dumbest line that made me crack up so much in that. And he's like, I wonder if that was one of those, Ryan, I need to say that line again. And then Ryan going, I wasn't going to let you not. I want to see an interview where Ryan, now that the movie is out, talks about how that conversation went.
If anyone has like footage of the Hall H panel that was that they had tonight, I wonder if they're allowed to be more open because the movie's out. Well, or maybe not, because
I would say no, because part of what's getting people to come to this, on top of the fact that it's Deadpool, is to see what's in it.
True.
And yeah, the Blake, yeah, I just added other stuff going on. The Bring 'Em Out remix, I need that in my Spotify playlist now. But yeah, and then just that cowl pull, everything about this was great. Again, this was just a moment in my life that I needed right at the right time, like not appreciating certain stuff, and that just screamed in at this. I don't know if we're ever going to get another honest to God Deadpool movie again, but I can see Deadpool showing up in a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, I don't think Ryan Reynolds is giving up the mantle anytime soon.
No, and I have a feeling this movie's going to do very well.
I'm hearing that just from Thursday night alone, that we're looking at like 40 million.
Like it's opening, like it's looking to make the biggest opening weekend of a rated R movie of all time by a wide margin.
Let me repeat that one more time. 40 million from Thursday.
Thursday. That's a fucking insane. Like, I just need to do a number because I'm a dickhead, and this will be the last thing that we go out on, just to show what putting heart into a movie gets you versus what putting movies together because you want to keep rights gets you.
Oh boy.
Let's see. What's the old box office on? In total, Madam Web made $100.3 million.
Ouch.
Deadpool made 40% of that on Thursday.
Yeah.
There was the joke about how Jesus and Deadpool. I think honestly now, isn't the highest grossing, or was I smoking something when I saw this? Didn't Oppenheimer become the highest grossing R-rated movie? Or biggest opening weekend? Something, it gained something for an R-rated movie.
Are we talking worldwide or domestic? Because I think
I don't know.
I think Joker is still the highest grossing worldwide.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. But here we go. Highest grossing rated R movies. List of highest grossing rated R. It's wow. Yeah, it is Joker by like damn near $100 million. Holy shit. But yeah, like number 1 Joker, 2 Oppenheimer, 3 Deadpool 2, 4 Deadpool 1, 5 Matrix Reloaded. I didn't realize it made that much money. Then Detective Chinatown 3. Huh? And then Logan, then Passion of the Christ, and then 10. I love that The Hangover Part 2 edges out 50 Shades of Grey. And then right below that's Ted. And then Detective Chinatown 2 is like number 14. What are these movies?
Probably something from China.
Oh, it is. But wow. Okay. But anyway, yeah. You're watching this. I'm not going to say go watch the movie. Go watch it 5 more times because you're going to start noticing shit.
Yeah, this is like, and like to your point, this is kind of like Hot Fuzz. I compared this to things like, you know, Lethal Weapon. Definitely a big influence would be Trains, Planes, and Automobiles.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I would say that that's the most accurate, like, I would say, comparator to anything on another movie. If you're gonna send it to this, it's definitely Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Oh, John Candy would ever been alive to have been in a comic book movie. My God. But yeah, it's. I need this thing to do incredibly well, which it will.
It will.
This is a movie that I thought from I would love to ended up meaning a lot to me on a pure emotional level. So yeah, it was just very good. And I'm going to be really honest with you now. I said the last time that we reviewed Guardians that Guardians became my favorite MCU trilogy. And I guess I'll put the asterisk there because Deadpool 1 and 2 didn't happen in the MCU. This might be my favorite trilogy of all time. And I know that's not a thing for everybody. But like there's a dip, and again, everyone, before you jump on my balls, there is a difference between favorite and best.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the best trilogy of all time is Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite, I honest to God, is probably this. Yeah, but yeah, that's all Anyways, Mike, where can everyone find you?
You guys can find me on all the usual social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and that place at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Let's do all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You can escape, so do we.
Absolutely. And you can find me everywhere at Organoid0, mainly on Twitch and YouTube. And you can... I can't even talk. My brain is just so... if anyone is a fan of Ruby and you're watching this, next week... This will be up sometime this weekend because I have to edit it. But next week, the month is over, and I will be giving away a Aaron Zeck signed Blake Belladonna print and a Kara Ellerby signed Weiss Schnee print on the last day of the month during my stream. You just have to be subscribed and watching at the time. It'll be an automated thing. You'll come in, you'll get a prompt that types something in, and just with your subscription, it'll give you a ticket to be entered in a thing. It'll all do it automatically, and you need to be watching. I'm not letting it go like I did the last time with a couple of things. If you're not rewatching, I am respinning the thing, and you're not getting it. People that are committed to watching it and are actually doing the rules are getting it. But all right, until next time, we will see you all later.
Peace.
Bye.